Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Stalktober special event, straight from the heart of the Jakuls. As often as I can afford to, I'm your host Lothran, and there's ever so much work to be done. So let's get right into it, shall we? Grab yourselves a quick snack, settle into your favorite spot, get real nice and comfy, and pay close attention to all you can learn from A Wall Within. I am not a radical. Frankly, the very suggestion I find to be abhorrent. I'm upholding classical jackal values. You're the ones being obtuse and ruining the world around you. Orden kept his words tense and short. He had no love for these sycophants, and any more time spent in their company than he absolutely had to was wasted like the air they breathed each passing moment. Orden, you're their leader. You can speak to them on our behalf. You can explain to them the folly of what it is they are attempting to do. Even had the words not oozed out of the man's face so languidly and with such a stench attached to each of them, they would still be no less repugnant. I cannot, and I will not, Orden shouted after slamming his fist onto the table. Even if I were to do such an unspeakable act of cowardice, I would cease to be worthy of being their leader, nor would I expect any of their number to follow me anywhere or against anything. You do not understand what you ask, because you have lost all ability to reason. Come now, Orden. We're the ones reaching out to you, and you're the one acting like a child. Can't you see we're the ones who are actually being reasonable here? Another of the ruling class spoke up in a mewling, condescending voice all of these petty cowards seem to share. Oh, so you have reason on your side then. So it was reasonable to invite millions of vipers into the largest and oldest jackal city in all of the deep well. It was reasonable to sit back and allow them to breed unchecked. It was reasonable to force guards to stand down in the face of their constant need to steal, kill, rape, and destroy everything that they touched. That was reasonable to you. Orden, don't be so offensive. They're not all like that. I know they're not all fucking like that. I know the Ophidians are different because they're my closest allies, and they exist only because of the fact that a rare few among the Vipers are born each generation that see the destructive and insatiable nature of their comrades, and they sought out me and the movement of the wall within. I founded it, but it was in their hearts as well, before I ever felt the need to make it real. I know what I'm fucking talking about, you morons. The Ophidians, we've come to the crux of the problem, Orden. The Ophidians are the problem, Orden. They kill their own kind indiscriminately. They must be purged. Orden drew his sword and killed the man where he sat, suddenly and near instantaneously leaping a fairly extraordinary distance to kill both fat, lazy guards before they could even draw their weapons. The first man's head sloughed off his body, rolling gape-mouthed across the floor. Orden wiped off his sword very carefully as the council stared at him. He snapped his fingers twice. The vipers that had escorted him into the palace entered, pulling off their hoods to reveal their consistent, singular faces, a feature only Ophidians could pull off. One of the very few women of their number rushed right to Orden's side. I see you've been busy, husband. She kissed two of her fingers and let him do the same, pressing his pair of digits to hers. Nicta held him for a brief time afterwards, snuggling up against him, comforted in his arms, pulling back to draw her bow and aim it at the council member she had chosen to slay. Elder Gethro, do you remember passing the law of sublime forgiveness? She asked as calmly as anyone had ever asked anything calmly before. Why, yes, I'm most proud of that particular achievement. It raised the bar for Jackal-Viper relations. Are you also aware that it made it impossible for Jackal or Viper guards to do their jobs? That it made it impossible to stop any Viper from doing anything on fear of that guard or citizen being instantly executed on the spot without trial? Do you know what it's like to grow up the only female for every 300 males? Do you understand anything about the unruly nature of Viper society? Did you ever think to ask why there was never a Viper city in all of the Deep Well history? Did you? Well, that's actually a Slectian bigoted lie. Blood trickled out of the hole in his neck as the man's hand floundered to grasp the arrow sticking from his throat. He tried to shout in pain, but because her shot had pierced his larynx, there was little he could do but gasp for breath as he drowned in his own blood. How many more children have to be torn apart in the street and then raped and then eaten before we act? Do any of you have an answer? Orden asked of the remaining elders. I'm going to go with as few as possible, right? He signaled to the nearest Ophidian male with a slight nod. The man nodded back, hefting the elder closest to him out of his chair. I wanted any other outcome than this one, you fools. Orden nodded again. After saying his piece, the elder was thrown out of the window, making a loud, wet cracking sound when he impacted, and then moaning in utter distress when he had the misfortune not to die from such injuries. Nicta, he said simply. She curtly followed his unspoken command, silencing the pitiful cries with a single shot, moving back to her husband's side as quickly as she could. I would like to say it was pleasant, gentlemen, but it must not be. You, each of you, for the sake of cheap labor and feeling superior to your fellow jackals, have damned our people near to their very destruction. I leave you with the peace of mind that not only will your deaths be horrendous as you burn alive locked in the palace, but ephemera too shall burn in memory of your folly and impossibly corrupt unnatural acts against your own people. And if you don't want to burn alive, you can always take your chances out the window. All things come to an end. And so it is. The story has once again come to its conclusion. As often as I can be, I have been your host Lothran, and this was A Wall Within, another tale from the heart of the Jakuls. I hope you enjoyed our time together. I know I have. Now I leave you, as I often do, with the esteemed Brumble performing the extro as only he can.
Okay. Hello and good night, everyone. Please leave your comments and questions down below. Like and share to help us all learn and grow. And feed a hungry Brumble. That's me. And don't forget, we encourage each and every one of you to stay safe out there. Good night, everybody.